Buddy, can you discuss any breakthroughs or advancements in solar panel technology that are expected to shape the industry in the coming year?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think as with most years, we get a little increase in power class, nameplate power class. So we're going to see modules kind of abundantly north of 420 watts. I think that's going to be pretty widespread. The technology shift from mono PERC, which is kind of going obsolete on us, and moving towards the N type technology, which sometimes people refer to as the TopCon technology, which really is just going to drive more efficiency for longer periods of time and lower degradation. So we're able to produce more power for longer.
There's some. What about the electronics, right? So we're seeing the inverter companies kind of diversify a little bit and starting to look towards obviously storage, right, and battery solutions. They're trying to improve the chemistry and the batteries themselves, and then the functionality of them, and working with the electronics and your solar system to have kind of a whole home energy solution.
Yeah, that's we're seeing a lot of that. There's a lot of manufacturers trying to tie it all together into a smart panel or into a nice user-friendly interface on your phone. Everything from storage and backup, EV charging, load control. It's all kind of wrapped together on making a smarter home for our customers.
Can you talk a little bit more about the storage solutions and how you see that evolving in 2024? What impact that will have on the reliability and scalability of solar power systems?
Sure. I mean, we're still at the infancy of energy storage. I think there's we joke around when we go to the trade shows that there's more battery companies than there are inverter manufacturers right now. So there's a lot of interest in the space. There's a lot of folks trying to figure it out. I mean, I think chemistry is still not solved on that. It's still evolving and kind of getting safer and better and cheaper, and we're getting towards scale there. We're also kind of competing, so to speak, with or we're developing in parallel with a lot of the electrical vehicle improvements. So we're producing electric vehicles with longer ranges and faster charging times and longer life cycles. So that's all innovating right now in the stationary storage space as well. So yeah, it's kind of exciting, but it's certainly not set in stone yet. There's a lot of different manufacturers, a lot of different options, which is exciting and also can be frustrating.
Yeah, more to keep coming, but I mean, there is a ton of storage jumped into the market, right? Because it became kind of a hot product, and then you saw worldwide a lot of manufacturers popping up out of all over the place that are now creating batteries. But I think that a lot of the tried and true, right, manufacturers, the big inverter or EV manufacturers have really a solid, reliable product, and they continue to evolve them and add functionality, which a lot of them, it comes in a box, and then it's just like solar panel. Like solar panels themselves don't do anything. Neither does a battery. You need the kind of controls, electronics, software platforms to really give it the functionality, and manipulate how it works and how it's going to benefit the homeowner or the business. And we've seen that that's able to evolve in itself, which gives the same box that you bought, a year, 5 years ago, more functionality than when you first had it.
Everybody's talking about AI now, artificial intelligence, whether it's from Chat GPT and Google Bard to AI systems being integrated in software programs. Do you see AI coming into play in the solar industry and playing a role in the optimization and management of solar power systems?
I can't think that would not come in, right. AI is great at organizing data, sorting data, processing data, and there's a ton of it in our industry. So um, I can't predict to tell you how and when that gets deployed, but I think the fact that it will is a certainty.
I think we've seen it more on the software side, right? I know, our proposal platform, for instance, has this optional, so we can opt to have all our designs done in AI. And I know probably plan sets and other human design functionality could be replaced with AI coming up, but we've started to see just little bits and pieces of it. But like to Buddy's point, that's probably going to be integrated more into some of these systems and the monitoring or control platforms to make better decisions. For instance, like California has time of use utility rates, and then instead of the user having to maybe go in and manipulate and when they want to discharge their battery, their EV, that some of the AI might be able to take care of some of that. But this is all, it's speculative, I'd say, on our part right now. We have seen it on some of the software platforms that has been used. I would assume also on a larger level, maybe aggregating a lot of systems on a commercial industrial level. Probably see some more of that to moving power around. But um, I'm sure exactly, yeah. We see like yeah, drone, right? There's not exactly AI, but there's a lot of big solar fields using drone and other technologies, and I'm assuming AI is going to be integrated into that for their yeah, exactly, operating maintenance, and watching over what it would take several people to do.
Can you highlight, Buddy, any developments in solar tracking systems, maybe some other innovations in solar technology that you feel like are going to become more prevalent in 2024?
Yeah, trackers were popular when solar panels were really expensive. You wanted to kind of maximize the amount your solar panels could be hitting the sun. I think today, uh, at least from what I see, they're much less popular than just a fixed tilt ground mount, which are kind of easier to install, easier to maintain, and kind of a lower cost. So I haven't seen any huge developments in the tracking side, but um, it's solar. So I think if there is some value to that, it'll certainly find its way into our space.
Yeah, our industry is a lot like the New England weather. You don't have a solution. Just wait 5 minutes it's because things evolve and change rapidly, which is exciting, and it proves that our the industry has a lot of interest, investments, um, and it's exciting, right? It's exciting to see these new products and solutions come to market. We do trackers and fixed ground mounts, and it's not as prevalent because obviously it's always going to be more cost effective if the infrastructure is already built on a home or a building. So it's always going to be more cost effective if you're not building the infrastructure in order to hold solar. But there is certainly applications for it, folks that have plenty of open space, and especially with high bills, or operating farms and other things like that, they can take advantage of it. But again, you're building the infrastructure first in order to hold the solar, as opposed to a roof mounted system where the infrastructure is in
Is
place.
part of that too, Brian, that like solar panel technology has become so great now that they're able to produce electricity even when the sun is at a pretty sharp angle toward the panels, as opposed to previously when the sun really had to be kind of shining directly on those panels.
The panels and the electronics have come a long ways, where that they can be more effective in low light and off light situations. I know, I show folks that my solar system's making power before this I can see the sun, right? So that the sun's down behind the trees, but it's me, even though it's little bits, but all those little bits add up, right? And kind of back to what we were talking about, earlier about the cell technology, right? The cell technology has, um, it's essentially the same thing we put into space in the 1950s, but has come a long ways in terms of the productivity, the efficiency, and the degradation, and now the application to a residential or commercial a building where it's needs to be resilient to weather and environmental impacts. So, but yeah, we've absolutely seen come a long ways in terms of being able to collect more sun, where you don't need to necessarily put it on a tracker and square it up to the sun throughout the day and the year.
Buddy, in terms of policies and regulations, what changes do you anticipate, that will come into play in 2024 that will support the growth of solar energy adoption in various regions in the coming year?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think nationally, these IRA guidelines should be kind of clarified, which will kind of bring some more investment into the space. Um, there's a lot of that'll drive a lot more of the kind of third party ownership model. I think we're kind of starting to see a lot of shift to that. So I expect 2024 to be kind of defined around domestic content, and maybe third party ownership as a vehicle in many ways to capture a lot of that.
And yet the third party ownership is what we hear a lot of leasing. That's kind of a right, but third party ownership is really what that is, meaning that the homeowner or business does not own the system. It's bank or investors or group of investors that are able to take a residential system and classify it financially as a commercial system, which then brings in a whole nother category of these um, qualifications from the Inflation Reduction Act that Buddy was talking about, where domestic content, a prevailing wage, depreciation, and that can really accelerate um, the savings by passing on to the homeowner a lower monthly payment. So we've seen a shift, right? Even this year, buddy, we're seeing a shift in some markets and in most markets that there is an uptick of that third party ownership model, and it is I'd say really enticing for that upfront payment. And it's just a matter of looking again if we're looking at a long term play. The year one savings is going to be great. The month one, year one, and even the first few years, but generally those have escalators on them. And we want to look at, if you're looking at the total cost of ownership, I think even with high finance rates at the time, you're still going to pay less money for less time by owning the system, and trying to work with your installer to find the solution that makes sense for you.
Yeah, absolutely. There, you can't really put a price on ownership. There's definitely some value to that. You get to claim your own tax credit, and you get to own your system rather than just trading for essentially a different utility company.
Related to that, are there any changes in terms of solar financing models, that are likely to gain prominence in 2024, and which might make solar power more accessible to the consumers?
Yeah, I mean, we pretty much just talked about it. It's kind of the evolution in some of the third party ownership stuff to kind of harvest more of that. Which are credits in the IRA. They're kind of somewhat controversial that, a third party owner can claim those extra credits on your house, but the homeowner can't, right? So, that's again some language that has to be kind of sorted out in the ITC, and there's a handful of interpretations, but one such interpretation is that, to capture those credits, we'll have to do a third party ownership model, whether it's a lease or a PPA of some sort.